The next stop on our road trip out west was the Grand Canyon.
It was grand.
So as we mentioned in some of the other videos, we had a pretty tight schedule for this trip. So we were only able to spend one full day at the Grand Canyon, and we stopped at the South Rim.
So we stayed at the Grand Hotel. It was a pretty nice hotel. It was right outside the Grand Canyon, so it wasn't like inside, because we heard there was like parking issues if you try to do that. Yeah. But it did have a really nice restaurant, and we were able to do a little like date night thing. Got some steak and some salmon and a really tasty dessert.
Yes, it was so good.
Yeah.
And it wasn't very busy.
Yeah.
It was like us and one other big group. I don't know how we lucked out on this trip, but we had like the best weather, and the crowds were relatively low, like almost everywhere we went.
Yeah.
I mean, we've never been to these places before, so maybe that's the normal crowd, but I don't think it was.
So the one nice thing about the hotel is, even though it was outside the park, the buses for the park do go to the hotel. So we were able to just walk right outside the hotel and stop at the bus stop. And it was just like maybe 10 or 15 minutes, and we were like on our way to the Grand Canyon.
So we took the red bus route, and it has a bunch of stops along the way, and it goes the farthest out. So that was the one we wanted to make sure that we got done. When we got to the first stop, we were just so like, oh my gosh. And we decided that we were going to walk. It tells you the distance in between like the first stop and the second stop, and each one after. So we were like, let's walk.
Yeah, the first stop, I mean, when we got out there, that was really like the first time we saw the Grand Canyon. And like, it's crazy because the pictures really just don't do it justice, and I don't think our videos will either. Just seeing that, we're like, I don't want to get back on a bus. Yeah. So we were like, okay, let's try to walk as far as we can or whatever. And I think we walked like 1 or 2 stops down the road. It was nice because it was early in the morning and it wasn't super hot or anything.
Yeah, and it was also like right along the rim, so you could see the Grand Canyon the whole time while you're walking, whereas on the bus, you know, it's in a little bit more and there's trees. So really nice views.
So at the first stop too, we saw like a squirrel. I remember it was like running around and like Ellie was kind of chasing, and I'm like, stay away from that edge.
Right. Well, and they say that like the squirrel is like the most dangerous animal there because like they can bite you and it can get infected, and so don't feed them or don't go near them or anything like that.
I remember also having some problems with some giant bees or wasps.
Oh my gosh, they were giant. Like, we also saw a ton of other wildlife. We were keeping a running tally of the little lizards that he was seeing because he was just like, oh, there's one, oh, there's one. And they were everywhere and they blended in so well.
So we did see some, I think it was elk. They were like really big, like deer looking things.
Did we get a video of it?
I think so, because I remember we were sitting at like a park bench or something like that and taking a break and like at one of the bus stops, and these kind of animals were walking across the parking lot.
Yeah, it was a little scary. They're real big.
Yeah. So our first major stop was Hermit's Rest. That's kind of when you get to the end of the red bus line or whatever. And they have like a little gift shop there, and you can also buy ice cream. So we got some ice cream and kind of hung out and enjoyed the views.
Right after that, we went back to the main visitor center and we had lunch there at Arizona Steakhouse.
So we also did the orange bus tour. I remember that one wasn't as like, it was still fun, but it wasn't as good as the red one. Like the red one's like kind of the more popular one to go on.
But we had been going for a while at that point. So we were like, let's go back to the hotel and take like a tiny break. And then we'll go back at sunset. This was in June, so the sun was setting pretty late. So we had a good amount of time to kind of relax and get some fluids because it's so dry there.
We did stop for dinner, and there's like a little kind of gift area that I think has like IMAX theater like right outside where the hotel is. And so we did that, and then we got back to the hotel, and then we decided after a little bit of rest that we should go back.
I'm really glad we did decide to go back. It was amazing at sunset. There was a lot of people, but we also got to see like the area right around the visitor center. So we like kind of explored around there and watched the sunset, and then we were like, should we just stay for a little bit longer and we can check out the star party?
But somehow we booked our trip in the 1 week when they were having the star party throughout the whole year.
And it was so cool. They had like red lights everywhere so you could still see, but it wouldn't affect your eyes so that you could like look up and see the stars. They had invited a bunch of people to bring their telescopes so you can look through their telescopes, and they pointed at different things throughout the event.
And they were really big telescopes. It wasn't like your like little backyard thing or whatever. These things were like 8 feet long and
Yes.
stuff like that.
They were amazing.
I wasn't sure what to expect with the Star Party thing, but if you're there during that, do not miss it, because the coolest thing about it is they turn off all the lights in the parking lot and everything like that, and they encourage everybody to use like red lights or something like that. You can see so many stars because there's no like light out there once the sun goes down. And we saw shooting stars, like a couple of them. And they also do this thing, which we thought was going to, like, they said constellation tour. And I'm like, okay, so we're just going to sit there and somebody's going to point up in the sky.
They're going to say, oh, do you see this star? And we're like, we don't know what that star is, so it wouldn't be interesting for us.
They had these, like, laser things that they would shoot up into the sky. And you could literally point out individual stars for, like, hundreds of people. And you could see exactly what they were talking about. It was really cool.
I remember when we were talking about going to this, it was like, okay, I'm picturing the little telescopes that people have, you know. No, that was not it. They were amazing. Yeah. And then when they said the constellation tour, I was thinking, oh, I'm just going to be lost the whole time, but let's go and hear what they have to say. And then they brought out that giant laser. And they were telling stories about, like, here's why this one is named this and why this one is named this. Somehow, I had a flashlight that had a red light on it.
Oh, yeah, that was convenient.
I don't know how. I didn't know this was going on, that we would need a red light. I just had this random flashlight. So
yeah, and unfortunately, the only footage I have of us is, like, us sitting in the parking lot when I turned the red light on so you could see us, because it was so dark, like, you just really couldn't see anything.
Yeah, but highly recommend going to that. I think it's 1 week in June, and like he said, we just happened to be there that one night that it was there. Obviously, there's a lot more that we could have done at the Grand Canyon. There are other places, like there's the North Rim and all these other rims. But we had an amazing time. I think we really maximized our time there.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend at least do a day, because originally we were planning on just stopping by for a few hours. That would not have been enough, so at least do a day. But it was a pretty amazing day.
Yeah.